Over the years I've seen many films, and particularly in the 1970s, which was the boom period for the resurgent Australian film industry, Skepsey, Weir, Beresford. But I noticed very early on a recurring name. On the credit rolls of every successful Australian film, going back to 1972 up until the present day, one name reliably appears. This name kept haunting me.
Well, Bernie's the one person who could be relied on to come up with the solution to any problem.
He said if something needed to be done, I bloody will do it. If the trenches needed digging, he was in there with a bloody shovel.
Well, at that time in the film industry, he was just one of those guys you wouldn't want to shoot without.
He was a man's man. He was a country boy.
He was a wonderful, carousing, larrikin gentleman.
He could ride. He could roll a smoke one hand.
You couldn't talk to him about film theory. He just wasn't that sort of person. But his input was priceless.
It's hard to accept the extent of his influence, but the evidence is stamped indelibly on celluloid for all to see.
Bernie was like a good luck charm, and having him around was almost a guarantee that your movie was going to be a success.
Our line producer was arranging the schedule and then rearranging it and rearranging it again just to accommodate this one person.
I never really knew what department he was in. He was kind of everywhere. His own little Bernie department.
I mean, I really don't believe he'd have any idea of the impact that he's had on the Australian industry.
Well, he was very influential with a lot of directors. He was in great demand.
Oh, he had a huge influence on my work.
You know, Bernie Wolfe.
Bernie Wolfe.
Bernie Wolfe.
Bernie Wolfe.
The directors would be watching his face for a reaction after a take. You know, he'd be pushing the dolly, and if Bernie was smiling, they knew they'd nailed it.
It was amazing what he was able to achieve, and all the time from the grip department.
And never advanced beyond assistant grip.
Well, when you watch the movie credits and you see all these names, they mean Swahili unless you're in the business yourself. The role of grip is little understood by the film-going public. Assistant grip even less so.
Well, it's surprising to say the least. Not that I'm saying that assistant grips aren't important.
In Malcolm there were a lot of gadgets, and they were all to do with the character of Malcolm. Bernie made most of them.
Shoot straight, you bastards, was actually a little thing that Bernie used to say every morning to the camera crew. Then Bruce heard it, liked it, put it in the picture.
And when Bernie was there, people's spirits lifted, the actors became less nervous, productivity increased.
I just think that everyone just feels more comfortable when they know that Bernie's going to be involved.
If you have Bernie Wolfe's name attached to your project as one of the creative elements, it looks really good.
At this point, the story truly becomes remarkable because there are many who claim that Bernie's influence goes even beyond this.
Bernie had nothing to do with the edit of Gallipoli. And the only time he ever came into the editing suite, I happened to be there with Pete Weir, who was agonising how to finish the bloody film. And on the steam deck was a freeze frame of young Mark Lee, great bloke. And Bernie, in his inimitable fashion, just said, yeah, that's the finish of the picture. Here's a cigarette, aren't you?
I mean, I worked really hard on the piano playing for Shine, but some of the stuff I had to do is really, really difficult. And Scott Hicks said, do you mind if I use a couple of cutaway shots of Bernie doing the really, really fast fingering? And I was, you know, more than happy to have that happen. And it's great because if you look at the DVD, you can see where David Helfgott's cuff rides back and you just get a glimpse of a bit of tat.
It's kind of a tribute, I guess. I mean, it's a little homage to a guy who's done so much. I mean, why wouldn't you name a film after him?
Sometime, it was in the mid-80s, Bernie suddenly went AWOL.
No one could find Bernie, of course, and so I was thinking, well, you know, I'm not really comfortable moving forward without having that assurance of him being there. So I just thought, you know, forget it. Music videos for the next 3 or 4 years.
As he became less available, you know, really felt not being able to get him was like the kiss of death.
While Bernie's contributions to film are often front and centre, the man himself continues to be elusive. There was even talk of an affair with an aspiring young actress.
I'd rather not discuss that, if you don't mind.
Whatever the truth of it, suddenly Bernie was back. The impact on Australian cinema was immediate.
Oh, I mean, it's not that I didn't know the steps, it's just that I wasn't I'm not so comfortable with the classical ballroom kind of stuff. And he kind of took me around the floor a couple of times and I was right as rain after that.
I mean, it was already a fantastic script, but it wasn't really until Bernie suggested that the character be blind the script really started to sing.
Bernie's influence on various scripts is hotly debated, but now something had changed. Bernie had returned and he had a script of his own.
Actually, there was a really, really nice little role in there for me.
It was a very beautiful piece of writing, I have to say. There's something about the way Bernie gets inside a woman's head.
It was a thriller, right up my alley. It was phenomenal. Not that I actually read it.
Yeah, I never actually read it, but I know people that have, and apparently it's pretty good. You know, bastard.
Plagued by financial difficulties, Bernie's great opus was never to delight audiences. All that exists is one solitary reel. But I've seen that reel. Oh, have I seen it? It's the masterpiece it could have been. And that was that. All careers have to come to an end someday. Bernie pulled up his tent. Yeah.
We spoke for a little while, but it was very, very clear that he has no intention of coming back. And I got to tell you, the thought of that just scares the hell out of me.
I think that if you mention anybody who's been in the business for longer than 5 minutes, they speak with great affection about Bernie Wolfe. I'd like to know where he is. Hope he comes back.